Palworld returned from early access with 1 million concurrent Steam players during its second weekend, according to PC Gamer's report using SteamDB data. Meanwhile, Pokémon has surpassed 515 million software shipments worldwide, meaning Nintendo is not facing some desperate collapse caused by one survival game. Yet Nintendo and the Pokémon company remain locked in an active patent lawsuit against Pocketpair, while a related Japanese patent application has stayed rejected. Together, those facts create the real story. Nintendo owns the monster empire, but Palworld is winning an uncomfortable argument about creativity, value, and control. Today, we are separating the lawsuit from the internet victory parade and deciding where legitimate protection ends and creative restriction begins. First, Nintendo did not lose every lawsuit. Pocketpair was not declared innocent, and no court handed Palworld ownership of the creature collecting genre. Officially, Nintendo and the Pokémon company filed their case in September 2024, seeking an injunction and damages over alleged infringement of multiple patents. Subsequently, Pocketpair identified 3 registered Japanese patents targeted by the claim and stated that it would continue disputing Nintendo's position through legal proceedings. Therefore, anyone shouting "case over" because of one rejected application is replacing legal analysis with thumbnail fanfiction. However, the rejection still matters because it exposes tension inside Nintendo's wider attempt to protect specific monster-catching mechanics through patent law. Before we continue, subscribe and like the video if you want more fact-checked gaming industry breakdowns. Automaton reports that Japan's patent office sustained its rejection of a separate divisional application within the same family after Nintendo challenged the examiner's reasoning. Importantly, that decision does not invalidate the registered patent currently being asserted in the Tokyo District Court lawsuit. Instead, it means Nintendo failed, at least at this stage, to convince the examiner that this additional claimed invention deserved protection. Older gameplay footage from the unofficial Pokémon Generations project reportedly helped establish that similar ideas existed before Nintendo's filing, because patent examination asks whether an invention was new and sufficiently inventive. Nintendo's copyright complaints about that fan project did not erase its usefulness as prior art. Legally, Nintendo can still pursue further review, defend its registered patents, and argue that Palworld crossed lines beyond broad genre inspiration. Commercially, Pocketpair can keep selling Palworld while arguing that familiar mechanics were combined into a different game rather than stolen as one complete product. At its core, the actual versus story is simple. Artistic freedom needs room to reuse ideas, while corporate survival depends on protecting investments from competitors. Fairness requires taking Nintendo's strongest arguments seriously, because companies cannot build valuable technology, characters, and systems if every rival can copy them without consequence. Decades of development turned Pokémon into a recognizable structure involving catching, training, battling, trading, progression, and carefully controlled brand identity. Moreover, Palworld deliberately benefits from immediate comparison because its creatures, catching fantasy, and marketing hook make players think about Pokémon within seconds. That familiarity lowered the cost of explaining the game and gave Pocketpair attention that a completely unknown concept might never receive. Our critics are therefore reasonable when they question whether Palworld's creativity comes from invention or from stacking popular systems around a famous foundation. Admittedly, Palworld's creature designs and initial presentation invited comparison so directly that dismissing every complaint as corporate bitterness would be dishonest. Originality does not require inventing every mechanic, but it does require transforming borrowed ideas enough that the final work develops its own identity. Combination can itself become creative when familiar systems interact in new ways, which Palworld demonstrates through labor, automation, survival pressure, combat, and cooperative construction. Economically, Nintendo must consider what happens if competitors use recognizable parts of its formula while avoiding the enormous costs of maintaining Pokémon's global ecosystem. Ethically, the company must also consider whether aggressive patent enforcement protects genuine invention, or merely gives the richest owner control over ordinary design language. Practically, Pocketpair must prove that its long-term ambition extends beyond being the rebellious alternative whenever Nintendo receives another wave of negative headlines. Industry-wide, because dispute matters because future developers will study both the legal result and the financial result before deciding how safely they can remix established genres without surrendering control to established giants. Additionally, Nintendo has a duty to shareholders, partners, developers, and licensees who expect the company to defend intellectual property instead of watching competitors test every boundary. Without enforcement, a weak response could invite larger companies with greater budgets to imitate successful Nintendo mechanics more aggressively than Pocketpair ever could. Still, legal protection becomes dangerous when patents appear broad enough to threaten ordinary design choices used across an entire genre. Smaller developers rarely possess Nintendo's money, legal teams, or patience, so even a defensible lawsuit can pressure them before any judge reaches a verdict. Notably, Pocketpair has already said the proceedings forced compromises intended to prevent disruptions to Palworld's development and distribution. Those consequences matter because creative survival is not decided only by who wins years later, it is shaped by costs, delays, redesigns, and uncertainty now. Predictably, Nintendo may call that normal enforcement, while independent studios may view it as a warning that success attracts lawyers before congratulations. Then the market enters and makes the legal strategy look even more awkward. Steam lists Palworld's July 2026 full release with very positive recent reviews, showing that the comeback produced approval alongside raw curiosity. SteamDB's all-time record remains 2,101,867 concurrent players, while the reported 961,867 peak after version 1.0 proves the original explosion was not merely forgotten hype. No sensible comparison should pretend those numbers approach Pokémon's lifetime reach, merchandise power, cultural history, or hardware selling influence. Nevertheless, nearly 1 million simultaneous Steam players represent a serious audience returning after 2 years of early access, controversy, and constant, dead game, declarations. Version 1.0 also gave those players a practical reason to return through new areas, additional pals, progression changes, expanded systems, and the long-awaited full launch. More importantly, Palworld still costs $29.99 at its standard United States Steam price, placing its value proposition at the center of this fight. By comparison, Pokémon Legends Zia launched at $59.99 for Switch and $69.99 for the Switch 2 edition, with Mega Dimension sold separately for $29.99. Prices alone cannot prove quality because Pokémon offers polished characters, established competitive systems, family accessibility, and decades of trusted creature design. Unsurprisingly, premium pricing creates premium expectations, especially after players criticized technical performance and conservative evolution across recent Pokémon releases. Consumers do not compare development histories when choosing tonight's game. They compare cost, features, platforms, multiplayer options, and what their friends are playing. In contrast, Palworld offers open-world survival, base construction, automation, shooting, breeding, farming, exploration, and online cooperation inside one easily understood package. Conversely, Pokémon offers a more focused role-playing structure, stronger character identity, deeper legacy, official competitive play, and access to the franchise's connected ecosystem. Neither product wins every category, which is exactly why the comparison deserves analysis instead of tribal shouting. Creatively, Palworld's achievement is not inventing every ingredient, it is combining familiar ingredients into a loop that produces different player stories. Artistically, Pokémon remains far more distinct in creature identity, world recognition, music, characters, and emotional connection across generations. Functionally, Pocketpair goes where the main Pokémon games usually refuse to go, especially large-scale cooperative survival, industrial bases, firearms, and broad PC support. Strategically, Nintendo keeps its strongest games tied to its own hardware, because exclusivity helps sell consoles and maintain control over the customer experience. Consequently, that choice supports Nintendo's business, but it also leaves millions of PC, Xbox, and PlayStation players open to alternatives. Tactically, Pocketpair entered those spaces with a lower price, a simple pitch, and systems designed for streaming clips, cooperative disasters, guides, and long sessions. As a result, Nintendo's lawsuit became free marketing for the exact rival it wanted to contain. Public sympathy tends to favor the smaller studio when a giant company appears to be claiming ownership over familiar play patterns. Social media then reduces technical patent questions into a cartoon where Nintendo hates fun and Pocketpair represents creative freedom. Reality is less convenient because Nintendo may possess enforceable rights, while Pocketpair may also have built something meaningfully different from its influences. This rejected divisional application strengthens criticism of Nintendo's broader patent strategy, but it does not deliver Pocketpair a legal victory in the active case. Likewise, Palworld's popularity demonstrates demand, not innocence, because millions of customers cannot decide whether a patent was infringed. Market success does reveal something courts cannot measure. Players wanted this combination badly enough to return in extraordinary numbers. Such demand should worry Nintendo more than any insulting meme, because it identifies needs Pokémon has not fully served. Gamers wanted wider platform access, cooperative survival, flexible base systems, more player-created chaos, and a lower financial barrier. Potentially, Nintendo could answer those needs through product design rather than legal action, although doing so might conflict with Pokémon's audience structure and carefully managed identity. Equally, Pocketpair should not treat commercial success as permission to borrow without limits or dismiss every criticism as corporate jealousy. Long-term creative credibility requires stronger original creature designs, technical polish, reliable support, and ideas that cannot be summarized only through Pokémon comparisons. Both companies therefore face a survival problem, although their risks are completely different. From Nintendo's perspective, corporate survival means preventing valuable mechanics and brand associations from becoming free raw material for increasingly capable competitors. Under Pocketpair's reality, creative survival means proving that smaller studios can combine genres without being crushed by patents broad enough to control basic interaction. Between them sits an industry deciding whether innovation means inventing isolated mechanics or arranging known mechanics into a compelling new whole. Should Nintendo protect too little, imitators can profit from years of investment, while carrying fewer costs and fewer responsibilities. Alternatively, if Nintendo protects too much, ordinary game design becomes a legal minefield where only wealthy publishers can safely experiment. Ultimately, the available evidence supports a split verdict rather than the easy, Palworld 1, headline spreading across YouTube. Accordingly, Nintendo has not lost the lawsuit. Pocketpair has not been cleared, and the rejected application does not erase the patents already named in court. Measured commercially, Pocketpair has won the current market comparison by returning with strong reviews, a lower price, broader access, and almost 1 million concurrent Steam players. Undeniably, Pokémon remains the larger, richer, more recognizable franchise, so claims that Palworld replaced it are statistically ridiculous. But size does not erase complacency, and legal strength does not answer why a supposed imitator delivered features that many customers had requested for years. Finally, here is the definitive answer. Nintendo may still prove infringement, yet Palworld already proved that protection without creative response cannot permanently stop consumer demand.